Well, welcome to the fabulous show. I'm your host this week, Joy Willett, and today we have an incredibly special Memorial Day weekend tribute to honor those who have served and fallen. So grab your tissues, bring your hearts full, and we're going to be exploring and listening to the stories of our amazing guests who have seen it all. So, shall we? Let's talk. Well, welcome to the Let's Talk Fabulous show on this wonderful Memorial Weekend tribute show. And I'm so honored to have the four of you join us today. And I'm going to go around and ask you to say your title in the military or how you are in the military serving right now, as well as where you're coming in from, what state. And Britnee, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Britnee Kinard. I am a military advocate, and I am coming to you from Savannah, Georgia.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's a beautiful city. And Les, how about you, sir?
Hello, everyone. Staff Sergeant Les Patterson, retired now for 19 years after 24 years. And I come to you from Cache Valley in the beautiful mountains of northern Utah.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Mark, how about you?
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Mark Green. I'm coming to you from Orlando, Florida, after 34 years of United States Army service.
Thank you. Thank you. And Reuben, where are you coming in from? And tell us your title too, sir.
I'm in the Cypress area of Houston, Texas, and I was a former Navy SEAL.
Wonderful. Thank you all for your service and what you do before, during your active duty, and now. And we are so thrilled to have you here on this show, especially on this weekend. So we're going to start with one of our guests, and then after we hear from him, we'll find out what you think too. So here we go.
Hello, on this Memorial Day, I wanted to share from my desk. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Mark Green. In the 1940s, we fought on two fronts, against Germany and Japan. On D-Day, we lost over 4,000 men. In Vietnam, we lost over 58,000 men. All in all, throughout all of these years and all of these wars, 1.3 million people have given their lives in defense of this country. Yet we have one day that we set aside to remember them, which we really should remember them every day. I will tell you, it really hit home for me when I was in Afghanistan, and I was in a job where I would go out and check on soldiers. And I met a captain by the name of Mark Gardner. Mark had a young family. He was a West Pointer. He was a captain in charge of his command from out of Germany, and he lost his life to an IED. The thing was, I was talking to him a few days before that, and that's when it truly hit for me. Duty, honor, and country. When I heard his name called out on the green ramp on his way to home to Dover Air Force Base, I remembered to this day that freedom is not free. So today, please honor those that have been memorialized in the defense of our country. Thank you for listening.
Wow, Mark, that really hits home. Oh, and I forgot to say to everyone, audiences, grab your tissues, please. You'll probably need them during the show. And Mark, we remember Mark Gardner, your fellow compatriot who fell. We're going to remember names here today also, as well as those who passed and were never remembered. So this show is about remembrance and about honoring and also those of you who are left to carry their memory going forward. And we thank you for that. Before we hear from you, Mark, Reuben, what struck you when you watched Mark's video here?
Well, I'm thinking about, my experience, and, I was, firsthand, my friends, dead, wounded and bleeding, and having to, patch them up, take them to triage. And then the other guys were actually picking their bodies up and stacking them up like cordwood, and waiting for the extract. And it was, stimulates some memories that, from my experience, it's not fun.
No. Yeah. Thank you, Reuben. Everyone will be having their own time here too, but Les, what about you, sir? Thank you, Reuben.
Mark, you've really hit, I think what really matters most is every person that's lost is so much more than a name. It's a person, and of course their family and their friends and those that served with them, that knew them well, they feel it deeply, because there's that deep personal connection. And a lot who feel it deeply struggle to be able to talk about it, especially be able to talk in healthy ways about it. And Mark, you've brought a voice to that, healthy ways to remember and to honor.
Great reminder and great messages there, Les, too. Britnee, what say you?
Obviously, my children's father served in the military, and we were fortunate enough for him to come home. He was hit by an IED, but I think the hardest thing, and for coming from someone who is not a military service member but has been married to the military, is that we oftentimes, think of today or this weekend, even tomorrow, as a holiday. And as we're grilling out hot dogs, we're grilling out steaks, we're going to the pool, we're going to the beach, I think sometimes the true meaning of Memorial Day is kind of overlooked. And hearing stories like what we're going to hear today is just a gentle reminder that we're able to enjoy these holidays and so forth because of the men and women that have made the ultimate sacrifice. And we need to remember those families, those wives, those husbands, and those children that have no parent to come home to this holiday. And we need to remember the true meaning of Memorial Day and what cost that actually takes to us as military families.
Absolutely, Britnee, very, very well spoken. And yeah, it's the cost of war, of these conflicts that everyone has been in or knows somebody who's been in. It goes on and on and on in the legacy of the families who are left behind, as well as the children also. So wonderfully put. Mark, we're going to have you come on up now. And let's see. We're working on it. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about what you're feeling right now, Mark, after watching your video again. What's going through your mind and heart?
Well, I think Reuben said it best, is that, like, I don't know if people realize, but those that actually were a part of seeing those soldiers or those sailors or Marines or whoever losing their lives, that carries as well too the post-traumatic stress that can come from that, the the feelings and the things that get carried for years and years that really sometimes never get cleared. And I kind of experienced that too in this whole situation with Mark Gardner, with Captain Mark Gardner, who was a 2002 military academy grad. When I met him on the battlefield, he was just trying to take care of his soldiers. He was in good spirits. He was down in the valley in Afghanistan, and they were just going out and they were doing their job, and he just wanted to take care of his soldiers. And I was out there doing an assessment on the ground, and I had flown back on a helicopter and, was resting for a few days and doing whatever I do each day in the war. And then we got called to the green ramp where the C-17s that go back to Dover bring the fallen soldiers. And I had no idea that they were going to call out his name that night. And it was middle of the night. We go down and they called out his name. And I was like, that's the guy I was just talking to the other day. And so when I went home, for almost 5 years, it just kept sitting in my conscious. And finally, one day I looked him up online, and I saw that the family had a tribute for him online, and I looked at the contact, and something just inside of me told me to write a letter to tell the family what I had seen of him on that day that I was there. And I don't know what prompted that to happen, but I wrote the letter. Now, I never heard back from the family, but I think the thing was I needed to do that as part of my own healing, to know that that person gave, of themselves. And at least I could tell the family, this is where I saw that captain doing his job. And he was, he was fully in it, and he was doing everything he could to be who he was. And he wasn't even concerned about himself at the time. He was only talking about, hey, take care of my soldiers. Can you get these paperwork and this other stuff done that he couldn't do on the ground at the time? And so I wrote that letter. And like I said, I never heard back. But I think it's also that pain that people carry. That part of it gets forgotten. Where the ones that are carrying it, it's not forgotten. So I think Reuben made a very good point about that, is that, when you see those things, or you have to endure those things, or you are a part of those things, they don't just go away. The memorial of those people need to be remembered. And that's very important.
Absolutely. And I'm going to do this just with regards to what you just said. That's so, I got a little bit of an echo there for some reason. Powerful, yes, to be able to be an agent of memory for someone who has lost their loved one, that if you were there or knew somebody who was around them, what a gift, Mark. And as you said also, it's a healing, it brings healing for you also, because those battles come home with all of you, and with Britnee's husband too. Those battles you carry every single moment of every single day. And so whatever is part of the healing, and to also help others, how important is that, and how wonderful is that? So we're going to go to our next guest video, and here we go.
Hey everybody, it's Reuben Lowing. I'm here in Houston, Texas. The Memorial Day has a significant meaning to me. Every year I go to the cemetery, the Veterans Cemetery here in Houston, and visit my roommate Isaac Rodriguez's grave. We were in the Operation Just Cause, and Isaac got shot in the chest trying to pull some other guys to safety. And when I came up on him, he was already being worked on by the corpsman. He was in shock, and he didn't make it. Okay, and for years I had to reconcile that, and I didn't shoot him I wasn't the one that kept the medevac helicopter from taking 2 hours to get there. It took a lot, right? But I remember Isaac and the other guys and how they sacrificed, I mean, put themselves in literally harm's way for other people. And that's why they died. All right. Have a happy Memorial Day.
Wow, Reuben, we remember Isaac and those others that perished with you there. And how you said Happy Memorial Day. I know this was a hard video. I can feel it for you to share. How you said Happy Memorial Day at the end says it all. Excuse me, guys. And, you know, it isn't a happy Memorial Day for many, is it? So who else wants to tag a little bit before we bring Reuben up to talk? Britnee, how about you? Oh, we can't hear you right now. Oh, thank you, dear.
Sorry.
Thank you. That's okay.
Memorial Day hits different. You know, in my line of work, I work with veterans. I work with first responders as well, but veterans in general. And to go with them through this process, you know, to see the survivor's guilt, to see just the general guilt out there, you know, how they wish they could have given their life to save the person that they cared about that didn't make it home. To see these wives cry over the casket of someone that didn't make it home, and husbands as well. I mean, to attend funerals and watch the guard hand the wife or the son or the daughter, you know, the folded flag. It's, you can't put into words the feelings that has an impact on everyone that has to witness it, that has to see it. And again, I did not serve, but I feel that pain through my loved ones, the ones that I help. And it's a very hard pill to swallow and to try to even attempt to understand, which you can't if you haven't been there. But to try to be there and support and show the love that these men and women need. It's overpowering.
It's a lot. Thank you for sharing that. I was going to say something about survivor's guilt too, and you brought that up beautifully. And then Mark, I want to go to you because just briefly, you've had experience with, I believe, notifying loved ones. Can you just share a little bit about that? Thank you,
Sure.
sir.
So when the Secretary of the Army gives you that responsibility as an officer, usually along with the chaplain or that team that does the notifications, it's a very difficult task because you're trying to keep your own emotions in check at the same time that you're informing the next of kin that they've lost a loved one. And that is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in the uniform when it comes to being outside of a war or in that administrative role of having to knock on a door to meet a complete stranger and tell them that kind of news is not an easy thing to do. I had to do it multiple times in my career. And there was one time when we knocked on this guy's door, and I walked up with the chaplain and we knocked, and it was the next of kin, and he opened the door and he knew, I think you could tell immediately he knew why we were there. And when, and this guy was like, he filled the whole doorway. The guy was a big, strong man. And as soon as I started to read the words and then finished with it, and he was just standing there stunned, he just put his hands out in front of himself and he said, "What do I do with my hands?" Which didn't make any sense, but that's all that could come out of his mouth because he was so he was so distraught by what had just happened, he didn't even know what he was saying.
Yeah.
And it's those moments when you realize the true impact of someone losing a loved one, and it's real at that moment. It's like there's no way to explain it.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Gosh, yeah. I can imagine it's heartbreaking, but to be stoic in that moment with others falling apart, that takes real guts and courage, even more than sometimes on the battlefield, I imagine. Les, some words from you before we get into our next segment here. Thank you, sir.
It's so real, that feeling and emotion, and the assignment, Mark, that you had, something I've never had to experience in that capacity, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. It caused me to remember a time that my father, he served in the early stages of the Vietnam, when no one was dying, but he worked in the morgue in Japan, and he processed those that were not dying. And on one of those occasions, a young PFC, he was, or airman first class, I think, second class in the Air Force. And he was given the duty to be the only person to escort a soldier, a black soldier, to the Deep South. And it was up to him, this relatively young kid, to tell that family. And that broke my dad. It broke him. The guilt that he dealt with on that broke him. And he never fully recovered from that moment. So I'm grateful that there's more healthy ways for those notifications to happen today, even though they're horribly hard. They're healthier than like what my dad experienced.
That's a really a good point, Les, and also with people like Britnee here in our midst to be able to help with that process, and Mark, also for you to be doing that when you did. Let's pray and hope that there are even better ways to do that going forward with consciousness and awareness and education. And now we're going to play. This is going to be a debut of a song that was produced by Tamara L. Hunter specifically for today. And in this, you're going to see some Reuben Lowing's Delta Platoon. There's a picture of yours in there, Reuben. So we thank you for that. We also have Lawana Bradford, who is a colleague of our community here at the Let's Talk Fabulous show. Her father was in the U.S. Army as a Buffalo soldier for 30 years, Sergeant Major Harlan L. Bradford Sr., and he was a combat war veteran from 1948 to 1978 in Korean War and Vietnam. You're going to see a picture of him and Lawana's mom, Bessie L. Bradford, as well as you're going to see her father with Lieutenant General Anthony R. Hale within the body of the song. And what I'd like to do is, when we stop the song, I'd like everyone who's watching this show and us here on it to take a moment of silence, to pause and take a moment of silence to say our prayers for those who are left, as well as for those who are remembering the fallen. All right. So here we go. And this is Because They Stood.
There are names the wind still carries through the fields and through the storm. There are folded flags and quiet pictures in the hearts that wait at home.
There are shoes that won't come walking through the old familiar door, but because they chose to answer, we can speak and dream once more.
For every promise held in courage, for every life laid down in love,
we remember with grateful hearts and lift their memory up. Because they stood, we stand in freedom. Because they gave, we hold this life. Because they love something greater than themselves, we remember them this day.
in every prayer,
In every silence,
in every silence,
in every tear the family knows.
because they stood.
With hearts of service,
Their love still lives.
their honor shows.
Some were barely more than children. Some had silver in their hair.
Some left laughter at the table.
Some left dreams still waiting there.
Now we speak their names with tenderness and bless the path they gave.
Because they
stood, we stand in freedom. Because they gave, we hold this light. Because they loved something greater than themselves, we remember them this day.
let us be worthy of the blessing.
Let us be careful with this flame,
Let us live with deeper kindness.
and remember why they came.
Not for glory,
Not for power,
but so hope
would still endure. Because they stood, we stand in freedom. Because they gave, we hold this light. Because they loved something greater than themselves, we remember them this day.
through every year,
Through every year,
through every generation.
past the pain and through the loss. Because they stood
We will remember.
and honor the sacred cause. Because they stood, we will remember.
So now we could just take a moment of silence to remember those who stood, didn't come home, their families, their loved ones, as well as also to include all of our military who are out there serving right now as we speak. All right. Thank you. Thank you all. So I'd like to find out what went through your minds and hearts when you saw this show. Les, let's start with you.
It's such a beautiful song, and the power of music and the power of lyrics coming together to help us understand feelings we have that we don't know how to put words to. That's the power of music. I mean, it happens for falling in love, right? Well, it happens with these most tender and these most hard feelings that music brings the unspeakable into the understandable. Well done, Tamara. Well done.
It's a beautiful song. It's powerful. Gosh, thank you, Les. Reuben, what say you, sir?
Oh, well, I just counting the years. It's been like 36 years ago that what happened with me happened. And, it still affects me. I got diagnosed with PTSD breaking out in shingles. I had, 7 times I broke out in shingles, and it always corresponded with every time one of my buddies got killed in Iraq or Afghanistan. It's an emotional trigger. And actually, I'm experiencing a bout of shingles right now, which is probably due to a little anxiety about coming on this show. And it's unconscious. It's in my subconscious, and those emotions, they come out whether I want them to or not. And I talked about Isaac, but when I came back, I'm going to take my wife to dinner, and she was making dinner. I'm like, I thought we were going out. Well, Don McFall's wife was past due in her pregnancy, and the wives were taking turns feeding her, and it was her turn. And I had to go to his house, and his brother was there, and everybody's asking me what happened. And that child never got to see his dad. Lieutenant Connor, I was a radioman, and he was the first one to get shot, and I, his screams, hearing in my ear right now, running up that runway, and then when all the shooting stopped, I had to be one of the ones that picked up the dead guys and put them all in the same place. And it's those, they're with me right now. I'm reliving them right now, and I don't like to. I did a video earlier, hearing people talking about 4th of July or Memorial Day or Veterans Day. It's not all about picnics and barbecues and fireworks, and I'm happy for those distractions, because I'd rather not be dwelling on, what happened. It's hard and it's ugly. When I was in the SEAL teams, it used to drive me crazy. These young guys right out of buds, I'm like, man, they're going to get me killed. And, because they just didn't have they didn't have those experiences to know that you got to pay attention. There's certain things you got to keep together. There's certain principles, you don't engage the enemy unless you have the element of surprise, cover and concealment, superior firepower. You don't put your weapon down until the enemy's either dead or out of range. And those are just hard set in me, and they carry over to my civilian life in everything I do.
Yeah. Well, we're sending you a lot of love and comfort right now, Reuben, right now, while you're going through this weekend. And may you find some wonderful distractions also during this time of picnics and parades. And thank you for sharing your very deep and heartfelt story. We are going to always keep you in our thoughts and prayers too, as well as anyone who is similar to Reuben, which probably for most of you who've been in combat have the same kinds of stories to go along with this. All right, Mark, tag team off of Reuben. Thank you, sir.
Sure. So I think when we realize that about only 1% of the population actually serve, but yet when we see the patriotic ways that the country still leans with all the events and the things like that we see still, knowing that people are out there. One of the things that in transition, one of the things that my son and I did, he's a film school graduate here in Orlando, and we got on the road one day and we went 14 days, almost 4,000 miles, and we interviewed veterans. And what I found out was something very important that I think people should start to understand is that time does heal. And I was really surprised in the interviews that we did that even the Vietnam veterans, because we did interviews from all the way back when it was World War II to today, wow. And the wars all in between. And I was really surprised at the openness that some of the soldiers and airmen and others and Marines were willing to open up. A lot of times you hear people just will box in and they don't even share. And there's some things that they won't want to share or can't share for national security reasons and things like that. But I was really surprised that they did open up, and that transformation that I saw. We actually got to interview one of the men who saw the flag raised over Iwo Jima. Wow. And he was 99 years old on his Tyler, Texas ranch. And it was, here he was, he's invited me to his table to eat raisin pie in Texas. And, like the flags flying out front as we went up the driveway. And it was just really, really incredible to talk to that man. And then for him to share his story about what he experienced in his portion of the war. He actually wrote a book called It's a Blessed Life with his daughter, Tamara Bolton. Great daughter. She actually took the stories from him while they were having coffee on the porch. And, it's guys like him and those interviews and the people that we still are here helping others remember what it was like for others, even in loss. Because even some of those people that we've lost in our lives, they had incredible lives. They were funny. They were truly just people. And they had all kinds of emotions and all kinds of things happen in their lives. And, I can remember the late nights after a long training night where everybody would start laughing at each other because they were just punch drunk from being so tired. And so there's a lot of camaraderie in the service. And I think that transition from getting out and then getting on with your life too, but also never forgetting. I think the memories have to be there. We cannot let that die. Everything from laying the wreath every year, all the things that we do in that way to make it work. So those names will never be forgotten, not just the Vietnam Wall, but all veterans that have lost their lives. So that's the part I guess I'd like to share.
Well, I really love that part that you shared, Mark, about also remembering them as people with humor, with lives, with joke, that is something that also those of you here and in the audience, if you knew somebody who did pass away like you all did and do, to remind their families and just have those stories, because that's going to be like manna to their children and their grandchildren. That keeps their legacy of love and life going for generations to come. Those little stories are so important, golden nuggets. Britnee, couple of words from you, and then we're going to go into your video. Wink, wink.
I think in general, because they stood, just like the music said, we're allowed and given privileges that we otherwise would take for granted. And because they stood, we get to lay our heads on pillows at night, and just, again, remembering them as people, but tell the stories. Make the videos, post the pictures,
Yeah.
tell want their parents to know.
Yeah. Absolutely. You froze up a tiny bit there, Britnee. We'll wait for you to come back, but absolutely.
Stories.
Okay.
I mean,
there
you know,
you go.
there's, oh, sorry. But tell the stories,
Yeah.
make the memories, and don't be afraid of it. Laugh, cry. It's okay to express that emotion, because if you don't express that emotion, it's gonna come up and out one way or the other. And if you are around on this holiday and you see someone that just might be a little to themselves, might not want to go out, might not want to do those things, respect the boundaries. Don't push it. And at the same time, ask them to come, because they might not have anyone and they might really be feeling survivor's guilt. And if that means that you fix them a meal and that you sit down and you watch old movies and you laugh and you joke and you cry and you drink and you do whatever it takes to get it out your system, then do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And finding a way to remember them and enjoy them and still get through it is ultimately the way to go, because they stood and were allowed to be here today.
I love that. That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. We're going to go into, thank you, Britnee. We're going to, before we have your beautiful video come on here, we're going to do a couple little things here. So have fun watching these.
Did you know that you can watch the Let's Talk Fabulous show anytime you want?
Come here. Listen. We are on demand.
That means inspiration, original music, connection, and powerful conversations whenever you need it most.
We are on demand.
We are proud to be a part of the E360 TV network. You can find us on the internet or on the app through your favorite app store. We stream on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and many of the others.
We are on demand.
Find us in the pop culture and entertainment area or on the Fresh Takes channel.
We're on demand.
Of course, you can always join us live every Sunday at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern, where we connect with you in real time. It's time. Let's talk.
That's our first commercial. It seemed a little funny to be putting it on the show. However, we're on demand. And for those of you who also want to share this out to your friends and family, either my beautiful guests here as well as our audiences, we are on demand. So we're going to do something here, because I was seeing some purple hearts showing up in our comments, and we have a way that we honor somebody and those who have passed on with, we call it the Purple Hearts Club. So watch this. Yes, it is about the legacy of love. And that's what our show is all about here. And especially on this Memorial Day weekend, tribute to those that we have loved and lost and the memories of those. So, Britnee, we're going to play yours right now, and then we're going to talk.
Good afternoon, everyone. This Memorial Day, I stand before you deeply honored to pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. As a military caregiver to a catastrophically wounded veteran, I have witnessed firsthand the profound impact their service has on families like mine. My name is Britnee Kinard, and I am a military caregiver. Caring for a catastrophically injured veteran has not only shaped my life, but it has also transformed the lives of my children. They are learning resilience, empathy, and the true meaning of sacrifice. Each day, they see the strength required to face challenges and the love that binds us together as a family. So today, we remember the heroes who fought bravely, and we honor their legacy by cherishing our own moments and supporting one another. Let us carry their spirit forward, ensuring that their sacrifices are never forgotten. Thank you.
All right. And Britnee, we're going to do something a little bit out of the ordinary. We're going to go into Les's, and then we're going to wrap up the show with all of your thoughts. So Les, we're coming in now with you, sir. All right, here we go. Oops, one moment. Hold, please.
Memorial Day is a time to pause and remember. Hello, everyone. I am Les Patterson. I'm standing next to the grave of Lance Corporal Michael J. Allred. He's one who I pause to remember on Memorial Day and throughout the year. Michael was a friend of mine here in Hyde Park in beautiful Cache Valley in northern Utah. And Michael was the very first combat casualty out of Cache Valley in the War on Terror. He was killed on Labor Day 2004 in Iraq. I was on my way to Iraq at the time when it happened with my own National Guard unit. On that deployment, we also lost a soldier, Sergeant First Class Ronald Tanner Wood. Remembering those, remember other fallen military, and remembering my loved ones is why Memorial Day means so much to me. It's why I wear the hat. It's why I wear the tie. It's why I write. It's why I share. It's why I speak. Let's remember our fallen military, and let's honor them this Memorial Day. Thank you.
Love that. I love how everyone is honoring your fellow soldiers. So Britnee, we're going to have you come up now and share a little bit about what you do. And we're going to have you come into the spotlight. And let's see. And here you go. There you go, Britnee. Thank you.
Oh, hi. Again, my name is Britnee Kinard, and I am a military advocate. I have been advocating for military families for almost 16 years. My children's father served in the military for 20 years, went over in 2004 to Iraq and Afghanistan, and came back in October of 2005. During that time, he was involved in 12 different IEDs. The last one was March 15th, 2005, and that one actually put him in a coma for 3 days outside BIAP, which is Baghdad International Airport. He did come home, and he did come home with 60 plus injuries. The main one, obviously, of course, is a severe traumatic brain injury with cortical blindness and a bunch of other different injuries, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder. With that came a lot of adjustments, a lot of trying times, and a lot of time at the VA hospital, which is super fun. But during that process, I started a nonprofit organization called the SD Gunner Fund. SD stands for Service Dog. Gunner is the name of my children's father's service dog. And I started supplying service animals for wounded veterans, first responders, and special needs children.
Awesome.
We have 2 children. My oldest is about to turn 16, and he also has autism. And then we have a 13-year-old boy as well. And during that process, I started advocating because as a military spouse, I found myself with a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. And I didn't have anybody there to guide me. And you'll find a lot of times in dealing with military families that they just either accept the answer or they don't put up the fight. And unfortunately, the good Lord did not build me that way. I don't take the word no for an answer, and I can be quite a bit of a pain. So I think my parents would probably use the word persistent. But I went after the VA, and I actually challenged them for about 18 months. And after 18 months, Gunner became the first service animal in the Southeast region for individuals with traumatic brain injury, because even though the policy had been into effect, the VA had actually only placed about 200 dogs nationwide, and they were not approving them for what they were actually federally mandated for.
Wow.
And that sort of kickstarted our organization. And since then, it's sort of grown. I've turned into everything that I do for the military community has something to tie back to my personal experience. So
That
whether
is,
that
that's,
is feeding families, figuring out insurance, fighting the VA, putting food on the table, it doesn't matter. Even down to separations, and sometimes families can't come back together after the injuries because it's just too much. I handle it all, and I even handle the aftermath. Unfortunately, for those who do fall victim to post-traumatic stress disorder or their inner skeletons or inner demons. I've been through every phase of it, and so it's part of my life. It's part of my calling, and I'm
thank
glad
you.
to be able to here to help.
Thank you so much, Britnee. And the work you're doing to fill in the gaps here for those who have perished and their families is invaluable. We only have a couple minutes left here, guys, and we could go on for a longer time. Of course, I want to get Les Patterson up here. Thank you, Britnee. And remember, audiences, reach out to these amazing veterans and veteran advocates in the comments or on the social media, because they have gifts and stories to give to you too. Les, let's have you say a few, just like a minute or so, and then we'll finish.
Choosing to remember, I think, is a step most people want to do so that they can move on. And I think it's critical that those of us have the opportunity and we find the way, we find a healthy way that's healthy for us to be able to talk. That helps others who struggle to talk, who struggle to put their words into, or their emotions into words. And so the hat, the tie, the conversations, things like this, Britnee, the work that you're doing, it all matters. And if what we do is choose to stay present, stay alive, that greatly matters.
Absolutely. Les, that's an incredible way to wrap up this show. And remember, each of these, to my audiences, each of these amazing people, my guests here, each have their own passions. Follow them, find them, and get to know who they are and what they're doing to help our veterans, the military, as well as to be advocates. Share your stories, honor your, take away what you need to from this show, please. Take away what you need to from the show. There's so many different beautiful wisdom nuggets here. And we are going to be leaving here. Thank you, my guests. Thank you so much. Happy Memorial Weekend. And next week, stay tuned because you're going to be in for a treat. It's going to be all about, are you loving you? So till then, thank you for joining us on the Let's Talk Fabulous show.